Call this meeting to order. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Casto.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn. Yes. Councilman Register.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman.
Present.
Mayor Teddemer.
Yes, ma'am. Please rise for the invocation led by Pastor Ben Hill with Five Bridges Church.
Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for this day, for the sunshine you've blessed us with. Thank you for the opportunity for this meeting tonight. Pray that you would bless it. I pray that you would be with the leaders up in front of me, that you continue to guide them in the way that they should go and how they lead the city. Lord, I pray for everyone in this room as we seek to find ways forward through discussion and through clarification on things. Lord, I pray that you would help keep the conversation civil, help keep the conversation pointed in a good direction. Lord, I thank you so much for where you have blessed us to live. We love our city. We love this area of Florida. And Lord, I pray that you would help us be good stewards of it, physically and spiritually. Lord, I pray most of all that more people in this community would trust you as their Savior. They would understand their need for you and call out to you and trust in you for eternal life. Lord, we'll give you all the honor and praise for these things. Pray now, most of all, that you would bless this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Ben. Please join Councilman Casto for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we move on to the community announcements. On Thursday, there's the Emerald Coast Cruise and Car Show starting Thursday, March 12th, going through Saturday, March 14th. Come check out some classic cars and some new models as well. And then on Saturday, March 21st, there's the city's spring market. We run these quarterly, and they're a great time, so recommend coming out to Aaron Bessett Park for the spring market. And then our next meeting will be Thursday, March 26th. That is a 9 a.m. meeting here at City Hall. Now move on to the approval of the meeting minutes.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Casto.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn.
Yes.
Councilman Register.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer.
Yes, ma'am. Now moving on to the approval of the agenda and additions or deletions. Mr. Whitman, do you have any?
No, sir.
Anything from the council?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilman Casto.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn.
Yes.
Councilman Register.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer.
Yes, ma'am. We now move on to presentations with Councilman Casto.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to ask the Aldridge family to come forward with the Boys and Girls Club, please. This is a certificate of special recognition of Grayson Aldridge on being selected to the Boys and Girls Club February 2026. Honoree, and whereas Grayson has given exceptional service to the Boys and Girls Club, and whereas Panama City Beach City Council and the residents of Panama City Beach thank you, Grayson, for your dedication, your unselfish service to your club and community, and congratulate you on a job well done. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. Job well done. We got a little treat for you. I almost forgot the most important part.
Paul is going to take that home.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have some visitors from the American Red Cross. 3 volunteers attended today, Bob and Jane Greathouse and Sue Fleshner. Could you guys come forward, please? Before I get a picture. American Red Cross Month. Whereas during American Red Cross Month in March, the Panama City Beach City Council recognizes the compassion of its residents and reaffirms our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And whereas the generous spirit is enabled in our community, honoring and advancing the humanitarian legacy of the American Red Cross founder, Clara Barton, who selfishly dedicated her life to alleviating suffering. And whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Mrs. Barton's commitment as they step up through the American Red Cross Northwest Florida chapter to be beacons of hope to neighbors in need, and through their voluntary and selfish contributions, they make life-saving differences to residents in their darkest hours. And whereas the Panama City Beach City Council hereby recognizes all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community. Now, therefore, the Panama City Beach City Council hereby proclaims March as Red Cross Month and encourages all citizens of Panama City Beach to reach out and support its humanitarian mission. In witness, therefore, the Panama City Beach City Council hereunto set our hands and cause the seal of the city of Panama City Beach, Florida to be affixed this 12th day of March, 2026. Thank you for your service.
We appreciate everyone here, and please, if you can find in your heart, volunteer. We need volunteers, the American Red Cross.
Thank you guys so much.
We now move to public comment on the consent agenda and non-agenda business. Please come up, state your name, address myself or the council as a whole, and please keep it limited to city business. Thank you. Now calling for public comment on the consent agenda or non-agenda business.
Good evening, folks. Scott Hallman, 137 Johnson Bayou Drive. Mayor, just to pick up on where we had a conversation a few minutes ago, and I just want to make some things clear that maybe I didn't have the chance before, and I want to be on the record too. Part of my complaints or concerns about the water redundancy project, to start with, is that there's roughly about 60% of the water meters that reside outside the voting radius. Some may say this is akin to taxation without representation, and I don't know if they really have a voice in here, so I think that there should be some opposition in general. And when we always see a 5-0 vote, I believe that there's a group of people that may not be represented in this. I understand the purpose for the redundancy, but the problem is that it's not being labeled as just purely for redundancy. This is redundancy, and it's also being labeled for growth. So what happens is when you have redundancy, that forces the locals to pay for it. The ratepayers have to pay for the redundancy, and then growth comes in, and there's no restriction on the number of units that you can put on to pull off the redundancy. Then you can have this stripping of all the redundancy, and the people who paid for this are left without a service. The redundancy is not the pipe. The redundancy is the water. The redundancy is when a main breaks, that the rest of the current is able to flow, and when I turn the faucet on at my house, it still goes on. the piping isn't the redundancy, it's that the service still functions. And I think we're looking at it wrong. And the way the system's currently set up is if we're allowing growth to siphon off all this redundancy, then the developers are going to get zero interest, zero risk, zero risk, zero interest, zero down loan. And I'm not against growth, but there has to be some median. And growth should pay for growth, and that is the purpose of the impact fees. I don't even know if we have a classification or an agreement about what percentage of this pipe is for growth or what percentage is for redundancy, but it's labeled as both. And I was hoping maybe tonight that we could get an answer on that, of how much of this pipe is related to redundancy and how much is allocated for growth. And then maybe we can have a discussion of actually how this gets repaid, because growth should pay for growth. And you're asking us, the locals, to pay for this bill. And some of these projections for all these projects is just under $250 million. And Mr. Ocasio at the last meeting said that there are projections that he had that were $400 million. And that's a lot of money for a small town. And you're going to do this by drawing down all of our reserves. I believe it was 60% that I remember hearing. And we're getting a 5% rate hike, but it's not a 5% rate hike. It's a 25% rate hike over 4 years. And that's going to disproportionately affect some of the poor. So anyway, thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hammond.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Alfredo Martin, Alfie Martin. Thank you for everything you're trying to do. I know everybody's working hard to get the city going. I have a couple of things that I need to clarification, and one is the noise level. I know you passed laws for noise, but when we talk to different people, we get different take on it. So if anybody can clarify what is the noise regulation for bars, restaurants, and of course homes and vehicles, because we're having a lot of problems, and it's going to be, this next week's going to be even harder. So if you can clarify that, I appreciate it, because when we talk to some people, they give us a different, I read your articles, but it looks different than what they tell me. So that's number thing is very important, because we need to fix that problem. And the second thing is, I know you're trying to do the signs on Front Beach Road, but it was brought to my attention, as I brought it to your attention before, between Lantana and Clara, I know it's impossible to paint the streets now, but at least if we can get some upright signs like Margaritaville has, so people, it doesn't mean they're going to stop, but at least slow down in the middle of the street. You know what I'm talking about, the upright signs, right, for pedestrians? Because on 48, 49, 47, 46, 45, each axis, you have an increasing amount of families crossing the street with very little kids. And what I would like to make sure that before an accident happens, if we do the best we can to protect the city, protect you, and protect the people, and a warning, like, those are bright signs. I saw one in Margaritaville and in other places, Front Beach Road. They look pretty good. It doesn't mean stupid people are not going to stop anyway, but at least if we have something that we can deter them, or we can say, we told you so. That's about it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Further public comment on consent or non-agenda?
Mayor, Council, my name is Ray Valverde. I drive for Bay Limousine. It's the 12-passenger party van. As such, I pick up a lot of people at the airport, and I'm ambassador with the Panama City Beach Chamber, so I'm always aware of what's going on in our beautiful city, and I want to add to that with the roundabout that we have just completed. I come from Kansas City originally, and Kansas City is known as the city of fountains, no other city in the world other than Rome has as many fountains as Kansas City. So I would like to propose or put out there that we, in that roundabout, put a fountain. I think it would add to the area. It would also make it a landmark, something that people can remember as I drive by, rather than just the tree that's there now. And just to spruce up that roundabout, I think would be a good thing to commemorate. You all know better than I, because I haven't been here as long as you all, who would be someone or something that we could show honoring, and something that's a remembrance for our tourism, and it also creates pride within the community. I know when I was living in Kansas City, there's a lot of fountains that I would drive people by because they're just beautiful to look at, you know. And so that offers the initial one start there, but why couldn't we just create a foundation for additional fountains so that this area can be known as the City of Fountains in the Panhandle? And that would be a good start to start there at that particular fountain if there's money there. So that's what I'd like to say.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Valverde. Further comment on consent or non-agenda business?
Oh, you have one more comment over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I could be your weatherman with my arthritis today. Molly Allen, Lowwater Lake area. I just have a general question for you all today regarding neighborhoods with no short-term rentals, and how rentals of certain homes, what the regulation is for potential fire codes for those homes. So generally, if a property is owned by a business, on the property appraiser's site, it says it's owned by a business entity. I know a person owns a business technically, but owned by a business, rented for a business purpose to house J1 employees, leasing to a company who hosts international employees for a business purpose, because those same set employees are here to support local business. So it's owned by a business, rented to a business long-term for a business purpose, but it is in a long-term rental only neighborhood. Should those businesses also be under fire inspection? All the businesses I know are under fire inspection, and so I'm just curious if we have something written or if there's something that we can look into for that. For occupancy limits, for safety, you know, last year I spoke to a young person who was leaving the area after being here for about 6 months, and they said that they were going to another neighborhood where there was a cheaper home. The home they were staying in was too expensive. And he started asking me if $200 a week was good money or bad money, and I said, I don't know. I guess it depends on how many people are staying there. And he said, well, there are about 24. So 24 people in a home in a neighborhood that does not have short-term rentals. So you can see my concern for that. Another question I have is, has the key for the box culvert weir drawdown been turned over to the city yet? Or is that still held by a contractor? With hurricane season coming up, I'm always looking out for the safety of the lake and the homes that flood, and I'm thankful that there's a drawdown weir, but I'd like to know who has the key to put that up and down in case we need to call somebody. I know the city would be on it, and the city would call somebody too, but a little bit of assurance. And then my last question is, what was the purpose of the Southeastern Surveying and Mapping that went on at Lowwater Lake in February for the residential common areas for Lowwater Park? And was it also done for Popeye Park? I didn't see any marker flags there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Further comment on the consent agenda or non-agenda items? Any further comment? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Whitman, is there anything in there you can respond to?
Yeah, I'll start with Scott's. I'm not for sure where he's got the $400 million for the redundancy line. The agreement we did last meeting with the St. Joe Company, they're doing about a $30 to $34 million agreement with us to build a line going to the west of the county line. They're upfronting all that cost, and they'll get money back on their connection fees for the impact fees. The redundancy line, we need to do another redundancy line to serve the whole population of our island. It won't come down 79. We're going to cut through St. Joe's property, and that's estimated at $18 to $20 million to build that line. That's for everybody. That's the residents we have now, because when we have a water problem like we did on 79, we lost everything from basically Richard Jackson to the west. This loop, our redundancy line, will tie back in down Kelly Street to hit our main lines up Front Beach and Back Beach Road, so we can circulate that water through the whole island. So that's for everybody. So I'm not for sure about the growth on that part. But I'd be more than happy to sit down with Scott and try to find out exactly what his concerns are so I can address them with him. As far as Alfie goes, I'd recommend he sits down with the chief of police. We have a very strong noise ordinance, but it depends on the time of the day of the week, and it's always above ambient. So you got to measure ambient first, and it's 6 dBCs above ambient or 12 dBCs above ambient, depending on the time and day of the week. So the chief could probably explain that to Alfie, and he'd show him how the officers are doing it with their sound meters. Vehicles, they have their own city policy or city ordinance on that. The officers can write them if they can hear it 25 feet away from the car, if it's not enough, and they can see that, so they can walk them on that. Public Works Director is addressing the pedestrian crossings between Lantana and Clariforum. They'll clean up the ones that are already marked, but there's a lot of people that just basically jaywalk in those areas, and there's no markings there. But we're going to try to address the pedestrian crossings that Alfie's concerned about at those crosswalks of 48, 49, and 50. Ray mentioned the water fountain. I'll leave that for your discussion. And Molly was talking about short-term rentals. If it's listed as a short-term rental, the fire inspectors do go in there and make sure they have fire suppression. And there's different ordinances on a 1- and 2-story building. Then if it goes up to 3, there's stricter laws on that. As far as it being a long-term rental, I'll have to check on that. But I know that 22 people would probably be too much for that house that she's referring to. So I'll make sure fire inspectors look at that. Molly also talked about the box culvert. And we're talking about closing out segment 3 today. I think we get the keys to that in 2 weeks when everything's completely done, but I can verify that. But we know how to get a hold of C.W. Roberts if we need it, but we'll have it within 2 weeks. And then the survey they did out there, they were doing surveys coming down Low Water Drive by the pond that's on the west side of Low Water, and the stream, I guess the ditch. They were doing a survey to make sure that it was on our property so they could clean that out to make sure it breathes a little bit better between the pond that feeds one of the springs that feeds Low Water Drive. So they were getting ready to clean that. That's why they were out there doing a survey. And I think that answers everybody's questions.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Whitman. That was very thorough. I will just mention on the rate adjustment, the vote for the city council was a one-time rate adjustment. The study did indicate rates may need to go up, but when we voted on it, it was a one-time. It was just a one-time adjustment. In terms of having something in that roundabout, I think that's something we may all desire, and maybe we'll talk about that at a future council meeting, unless someone has a point now.
I met Ray this week, and he brought that idea up to me, and I suggested he come to the council and talk to us about it, because I don't think we all come to a consensus of what we want to do there, other than we know we don't want a magnolia tree there. And if we wait much longer, we'll probably have to cut the magnolia tree and not transplant it to one of our parks or something. But something he didn't mention in his presentation and we talked about, and I just got back from Las Vegas where they have a lot of fountains and they have the LED light shows, and we recently last year went to Niagara Falls where they used at the falls an incredible light show, and he talked about maybe incorporating the students with some of the artwork that they've done around the fountain with the sea porpoises or turtles and shooting water out of their mouths, and with the light show. And you could change the colors during the season, like we're coming up on the celebration of 4th of July. You could change that to red, white, and blue. And the Christmas season, you could change it. I just thought it was one of the better ideas I had heard about doing something down there that may not be extremely expensive. I, at one time, thought it'd be good to put a lighthouse there, but it wouldn't be a real lighthouse like we have historic lighthouses around the coast of Florida still that they use for real lighthouses. But anyhow, I just thought it was a good idea. I don't know what the rest of the council thinks about that, but maybe we could have Ray come back and do more of what you guys have in Kansas City, or incorporate art. And Alfie, you're the art guy. Maybe you two could talk after the meeting and see if we could come up with something that the students could, art students could also participate in. It's just, we need to do something with that island. I mean, we're finished with 3 except our decision on what we want to put in the roundabout, so.
Yeah, I think we're just happy 3's done now. And so, yeah, we can definitely shift focus to the roundabout design. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this come back to a different meeting, and then we can kind of chew the fat on how we want to proceed on coming up with the design. And
Right. Yeah. I mean, we need something that is iconic and resembles who we are as a community. And obviously, water is a big part of what we do here. So I'm happy to do that. I'd also like to, maybe our positions on the TDC seats or whatever, potentially have them, look at that as well. And use our arts, use all the groups that we're involved in, and figure out how we move forward with that. Maybe some potential help with funding as well.
I think it's a great idea to put a fountain there. I think it'd be a nice feature. It's kind of like a boat, though. It's a hole in the water you throw money in, because they constantly break down, but as long as we know that going in.
yeah.
I think anything we put there, we're gonna have to maintain it. I don't know, some more than others, but you're right about that. The fountains require maintenance, so.
Okay, so do you want to move it to a discussion item in a future meeting?
I think so. Maybe, Ray, you mind doing some research or something on that for us and bring it back to us of what you...
Ray,
Go ahead,
Chief.
Mayor.
we can follow up afterwards.
All right, that'll work.
All right. Yeah, so we'll move it to a discussion item for a future meeting to be determined. You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. And I appreciate it, Ray, it's just. Yeah. All right. Now moving on to the consent agenda. Ms. Fazzoni?
Resolution 2686, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, authorizing the city to negotiate an agreement with White's Wrecker Service LLC for city towing services. Resolution 2687, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Dewberry Engineers, Inc. for construction inspection services related to Panama City Beach Parkway, utility relocations in an amount not to exceed $41,820.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Kilburn,
Yes,
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to the regular, that's probably the shortest consent
I
agenda
know, I
I've
was
seen.
like,
Yeah.
that caught me
It's
off
like,
guard.
am I
I was
missing a
like,
page here? We now move on to the regular agenda item number 1, ordinance number 1674. Ms. Madalena?
An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, temporarily closing a portion of the Sandy Gulf Beach from the hours of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., providing penalties for violation of this ordinance, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, and this is the second reading. We will take public comment on this agenda item.
Scott Hellman, 137 Johnson Bayou Drive. I'm sorry if this has been asked before, I don't see it in there. What are the dates that this is going to be in effect for? And is it for people who are in the hotel areas who go to the beach? Or is this for somebody who, let's say, is swimming in the water? or a boat that pulls up on the beach at some point, or is it for everybody? Is it closed, or is there an area on the beach that is open? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Further public comment on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Chief, could you help us understand it? And I believe Mr. Heilman was asking about dates on this, which, and then just geographic restrictions.
Sure. So the proposed dates are actually tomorrow and ending April 30th. We have two different images here. The first one here, you will see it will begin from Beach Access 36, which is roughly around Front Beach and Churchwell, and proceed to Beach Access 25, which is just to the west side of the boardwalk and encompass just a sandy portion of the beach itself from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And we have worked with our legal team in regards to the property owners' rights, and we have received blanket trespass warnings from many of the properties in this location that will be impacted. We've also spoke to several, if not all of the properties within this area, and none of them have provided any feedback in which they would be opposed to this specific closure. In fact, most of them are wanting in to the closure. The other location, let me see if I can switch this. Okay. Is on the west end, primarily around our city beach complex. So it would be Beach Access 58, which is the west side of the city-owned beach, and proceeding to the east side of the Calypso condominiums, which they have requested that they also be inserted into that beach closure because of the obviously the frequent nightly disturbances we have there. And just for clarity, the reason that we are asking for this and the reason we have come back to the council every single year is because it takes a tremendous amount of resources to police a very large crowd for an extended period of time. Having a cutoff point provides us the ability to redeploy our officers to separate areas within the city so we can provide more adequate coverage to the entire city. That's more police cars in your neighborhoods. That's more police cars patrolling, our shopping districts, on the roadways, responding to traffic wrecks, and just increasing our call response time in general. So that's what this ordinance is proposed to do.
Okay. And if someone's just walking through the closed portion?
Sure. Yes. So by the nature of the ordinance, it can elevate to the level of arrest, but our officers all are understanding that we deal with visitors that are not going to check the PCB government webpage right before they come here. And they might, obviously they're on vacation and they're probably going to maybe bypass some of the signs that we're trying to put out everywhere, and the social media we're trying to put out everywhere. So there's a very large component of education and awareness in regards to this. And we're not in the business of trying to take enforcement action on somebody who just doesn't know something. This is for the individuals that are just here for disturbance purposes and to make the atmosphere that much more non-desirable for the people that really want to enjoy our beach for the right reason.
Okay, so yeah, these are, it's not the entire beach, it's just these two areas near Pier Park in front of Calypso and down in that South Thomas Drive area.
That's correct. It's just these two isolated places where we see the most problems year after year.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Copeland?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tedmer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to regular agenda item number 2, Resolution 2688. Ms. Madalena.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, authorizing a budget amendment for one full-time facilities custodian.
Okay, any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Mr. Whitman, could you help us understand this?
Yeah, we've had some issues with our janitorial service that we contracted out. We had to terminate that contract. We found staff did a little research. We believe it's time to bring that in-house where we can control it 5 days out of the week, have a little bit more quality control. So we're recommending to the council that you guys approve of a full-time position so we can bring the custodian service in-house and not contract it out. And that would be for this building, City Hall, the admin building, the police department, and the library.
Okay. And what's the what's the budget impact compared to the different bids we got?
It's gonna be right around $68,000. When we bid it out, it was right at 55. The next bid after that was 67, and the third bid was 88. So we figured to get what we need that we can control, it'd be right around $67,000 for their benefits and their pay.
Okay.
Nearly budget neutral.
Well, and they'll show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer in bringing things like this in-house, so you've got my support.
Okay. All right.
I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Whitman.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, Ms. Mazzoni, we have, please call roll.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tettemer?
Yes, ma'am. We now move on to regular agenda item number 3, Resolution 2689. Ms. Madeline?
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving change order number 15 to the city's agreement with CWR Contracting, Inc. for the construction of the Front Beach Road Segment 3 project to add $1,940,623.36 relating to a delay claim and change directives, and to add 486 contract days.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item?
Scott Hellman, 137 Johnson Bayou Drive. What is the total amount of money so far, or projected, including what has already been spent on this section? Thank you.
Okay. Any further public comment on this item? Okay. Mr. Whitman or Ms. White, do you have that number available?
Total contract price is $32.5 million, roughly,
Okay, so,
after this revision.
okay, 32.5 million. Okay. All right, Mr. Crenshaw, I believe you're going to help us understand this item.
Good evening, council. The primary reason of this change order, and this is the final change order, is for $440,000 associated with change directives throughout the life of the project. These were approvals that occurred throughout to keep the contractor out there working and to not slow him down. So those get basically incorporated into a change order to make an effective change to the contract. The big ticket item was the $1.5 million for delay claim. There were multiple delays throughout the contract duration. The biggest was associated with utilities, basically not relocating at the low water box culvert. The contractor had to order some sheet piles, and he was unable for close to a year or so, was unable to install those sheet piles into those utilities relocated out of his way. The contract does require that they mitigate as much as possible, and they did do that. They resequenced and moved to the south side of Front Beach Road to try to keep the project ongoing. And we did a very, very deep dive into all of the documentation. We did a forensic analysis on the schedules, the critical path schedules, and we came up with 375 days. The contractor was initially asking for 560 days and almost $4.5 million. And so we were able to bring that down to 375 days and the $1.5 million that's before you today.
Okay. And so if, with the delay claim, that could go to court if we denied it here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so then all that stuff would be drug out in court for, and if I recall, much of this delay was before DRMP joined the project, is that accurate?
Yes, all of this occurred way before we ever came on service. Actually, this is one of the main things that was brought up to us probably as soon as we came on board is, hey, we've got this outstanding delay, and we jumped on it immediately, and we're kind of holding it to the very end to bring to you as the final change order to close out this project, but we negotiated that, I think we started negotiating, getting into everything around June, July, and then we actually negotiated with the contractor, I think around September.
Okay. All right. Questions from the council for Mr. Wood?
Yeah, I was just curious, so once we pay this change order, that's when the clock starts ticking on our warranty. Do you and I'm putting you on the spot on this, but maybe you need to get back with him, but let's just say we start having a problem with the sidewalks cracking or the road sinking or whatever, do you know right offhand what type of warranty we got? It may be depending on what type of problem that surfaces.
Yeah, a lot of those.
Actually, Mr. Whitman, did you want to respond?
I just wanted to clarify, DMP did an amazing job getting a negotiation from 4.2 to the 1.5, but I want to clarify the utilities is, it's not our utilities, it's not the cities, it's communication lines that we had no control over. Just so the public and you guys are aware, it's not our utilities.
Okay, yeah, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Crenshaw. Go ahead.
Yeah, it depends on what the issue is, what occurs. A lot of times your cracked sidewalks and things of that nature don't have a long duration for warranty purposes. Your warranties might primarily probably on your asphalt, but I would have to go back and research the actual specifications to see what, when the issue arises, if it is still technically covered under warranty.
But thanks, Drew, for clarifying that it wasn't us, it was mostly the communication, AT&T and those folks that held up this job and held up the contractor.
And we're going to address that in the contract that we're going to put out for 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. DRP is going to do a good job with the utilities locations or the removal. They'll have a schedule they'll have to follow, so we shouldn't have this issue again.
Okay.
And I remember that's DRMP, or not DRMP, Corradino, Drew, walked off the job last time we talked about these utility lines, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so thank you for
Stepping.
not throwing anybody under the bus. But,
Yes, sir.
taking accountability in front of everybody here, but you guys have done a fantastic job, and
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
getting there and negotiating, getting this segment done and completed. It looks great.
It does look great.
Are we gonna
We're
have
all
Arnold
very
Band walk
happy.
down
That's the
the
longest project we've ever had, been through.
Yeah, I mean, other than forgetting the fountain, you guys did a great job. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Crenshaw?
I mean, you've been in these things before and cost-benefit analysis of litigating something like this. What are your thoughts?
I would make a recommendation to approve. Obviously, this, like I said, we got it from the 4.5 down to 1.5. I think that's a huge success on behalf of the city, a substantial cost decrease. I put some numbers in here. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the white paper that I put together.
Yes.
Let me flip back here to it, but basically it was a 67% reduction in the total claim amount. Also a 33% reduction in the delay days that they were asking for. This is a very tedious process, to be honest with you, especially since we were not around from the beginning of it. We had a lot of paperwork to go through, and there were a lot of significant changes throughout the life of this project. Not only just delays from utilities, but there were other delays throughout the life of the project too that the contractor had to mitigate for and constantly change their approach to just stay on schedule. And those days, those delay days are evident in the amount of time that it's taken them to complete this project.
So when we're moving forward in these segments, what tools and resources are you going to put in place so we don't have this conversation again, or we save this for future councils when we finish the other segments? What safeguards and are you guys putting in place so we don't end up with the same delay claims?
And Councilman Register, if you don't mind, if I could actually add to his question, it may be worth just going through, do you have that white paper in front of you?
Yes, sir, I do.
In addition to answering Councilman Register's question, just walk through the primary causes of the delay, because that will help motivate your response to his answer.
Yeah, so the primary causes of the delay, and I'm just going to read what I have here on the white paper just to make it a little easier. There was a major redesign of the storm drain system at the very beginning of the project. That basically required the contractor they couldn't put in the storm drain system, the drainage system, which is one of the first things that a contractor puts in. That whole entire system was increased in size, so they had to reorder pipe sizes, and that takes time to get new inlets in, get new pipe sizes in, and things of that nature. The box culvert was originally designed on private property, so we had to redesign the box culvert to be inside of the right-of-way. There was also additional temporary construction easements that were needed because the box culvert was designed right on top of the right-of-way line, basically. And obviously, you need some working room, some areas for the contractors to work, so we had to acquire some temporary construction easements. And then obviously, the utility conflicts that were there, and those are the primary issues that kind of And there's more on there other than, I
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah,
I
I've
didn't
read
put
through all of
everything in here, just the major ticket items.
I guess the main thing I want the public to know is how much better we've gotten at right-of-way acquisitions and making sure that we're
Right.
doing that. And I'd like for you to cover some of that. And
Yeah,
some of
we're,
those-
we're taking a look real hard now at the preceding segments 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. We're looking at the right-of-way requirements. We have some very tight areas, and we're actually going to go through and work with our right-of-way team to identify some additional right-of-way takes that we need so that we have those construction tolerances in construction, and we're not chasing TCEs during construction and things of that nature. Also, the recommendation that you approved to go design build, that's going to put more of a teaming relationship between the contractor and the engineer that the contractor hires. He has authority over them, so that process will be a lot smoother there. And so, and also the engineers that currently design those segments did a lot better job of coordinating with utility companies and getting utility work schedules that that they are basically responsible for coming out and relocating their utilities. And we're also going to put some of that burden on the design build team also to take on those responsibilities. And we'll be actively engaged. At the end of the day, the utilities are within the city's right of way, so it is also a responsibility of the city to ensure that utility companies are doing what they need to do in order to not basically slow down the contractor.
Absolutely. Vice Mayor, did you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, to Mr. Register's point, moving forward, our easements, temporary or permanent, and our right-of-way acquisitions, we're planning on doing those or in the process of doing those now prior to construction, which is one of the major issues we ran into in segment 3. That's
Yes, sir.
correct?
That is correct. We are actively trying to close out all the additional right-of-way requirements, license agreements, and TCEs.
Yes, I'd just like to say, in my previous job, I've been through several of these projects, and one of this scope, $32 million, that's not unreasonable change order. And I don't see John out there, but Kathy's out there. She's been through a lot of them, and she can vouch for that. You're not going to get through a big job like this without some unforeseen circumstances. And sometimes it's not always an ad. Sometimes it's, we get money back. But on this particular job, it was an ad. And thank you guys for working so hard to try to get it down to what you got it down to. And
With this change order here, the percent is 16.24% total change orders, including the delay claim over the life of the project. That's very low, honestly, for a project of this nature. If you take the delay claim out, it's only 10.88%. That's very reasonable for a project of this size and nature.
And then, Mr. Crenshaw, if you can just dial a little bit further into how they, getting the utility work schedules and pushing some of that into the design build process will help us avoid issues in the future.
So we did not have any utility work schedules on segment 3. So they were pretty much noticed, I don't know exactly when they were noticed that they needed to relocate their utilities, but the process to date has been a lot more proactive. They've had ongoing utility coordination meetings throughout the life of segments 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. All the utility owners are aware of the potential impacts that they will be facing and the relocations that they'll have to undertake during construction of those projects. Those efforts will continue to, we'll be involved with that process as well moving forward, and the design build team will also have a stake in that ownership as well.
No. That's the way it should be done. I mean, was our biggest problem with Corradino Group is the lack of coordination and meetings, and ended up dragging this thing out. So
I don't know if any of you noticed, but
They inherited
there
too.
right around December, we sent out email after email to utility owners, and we gave them a drop dead date to have their overhead utilities removed, and they accomplished it the weekend before that Monday that we had asked them to be off the utility poles so that the contractor could pull those poles out and replace the concrete that needed to be replaced. So they are aware and were a lot more engaging and cooperative in getting their facilities removed as well. So I appreciate the utility companies and helping us achieve that as well.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yeah, just one thing. Could you talk about how the design build model is going to help us going forward?
Yes, ma'am, basically, and like I said, the engineer works for the contractor in that situation, so he reports directly to the contractor. It's more of a collaborative teaming effort normally is what we've discovered on a design build. And they'll have those responsibilities with engaging with utility companies. And we've got a lot of language in the RFP that basically, that we've developed that outlines those utility coordination requirements that we and DRMP and the CRA will also be overseeing, making sure that they are undertaking those activities. We'll have weekly or biweekly meetings throughout the process. There'll be a little bit of a redesign effort, hopefully, to value engineer and make the projects better as we go along, and those utility coordination efforts are part of that process.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so for design build, instead of the construction firm pointing at the engineering firm and vice versa, they're all in.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Crenshaw.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have a pending motion to approve in a second? Seeing no further discussion from the council. Ms. Vizzoni?
Councilman Pasco?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tettemer?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we crack a bottle of champagne on this one?
Amen.
So glad this one is complete.
Are we cracking a bottle of champagne for the 5-year anniversary?
Yeah.
Okay, we now move on to city manager report. Mr. Whitman.
No report tonight.
Okay. City attorney report.
No report.
No report. All right. Okay, we now move on to council comments. Vice Mayor, would you like to start us off?
Nothing.
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 Nothing. Okay.
Yes, I'd just like to ask for prayers for our city attorney. He had a death in his family. He lost his father a few days ago, and then lift him up and his family up in prayers. So that's all I have.
Okay. Amen. Councilman Register.
Just echo those same sentiments, Paul. And we all love Cole dearly, and he's been good to us, and he's got a wonderful family, and that's a big thing to lose a parent. So we're continue to lift him up in prayer and think about him and his family and his 2 young boys.
Absolutely.
Councilmember?
Nothing else.
Nothing. So I echo that. Mr. Davis has done tremendous work and continues to do tremendous work for the city, and death is always a tragedy, particularly in this case. We are coming into the high-impact periods, and so speaking of prayer, I would also like to invite the entire community, should they so choose, to, on March 22nd, pray for wisdom, safety, and protection for our first responders, for our residents and for our visitors, as we continue to work through spring break, especially high school spring break in Panama City Beach. May God watch over them and lead them and guide them. With that, I will see everyone at the next city council meeting, which is 9 a.m. Thursday, the 26th. This meeting is adjourned.